Welcome to today's session. Now, since the election season is on, a famous religious head who has been charge sheeted in a bomb blast case is contesting the elections, and she has been making a lot of statements which are stirring the society up, and this has raised concerns amongst not just the public, the general public, but also the politicians. So in this context, let's understand the topic or the issue of criminalization of politics in today's session. Let's get started. Let's start by understanding the present policy or legal framework, that is the Representation of People's Act, which deals with criminalization of politics. So under the Representation of People's Act, lawmakers cannot contest elections only after their conviction, only after the conviction in a criminal case. That means if somebody is a suspect in a criminal case, that person can still stand and contest in the election. Only if a person is convicted in a criminal case, then he is barred from contesting elections. Alright? And Section 8 of the RPA disqualifies a person convicted with a sentence of 2 years or more from contesting elections. See, this is the problem. For a person to get actually convicted for a crime he has committed, it takes very long. And within that time, that person is able to contest the election. So that's why a lot of criminals are getting away with it. See, protecting the parliamentary system from criminalization has always been the intention of law right from the beginning. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly expressed concern about the purity of legislature. So in this context, let's understand what were the efforts that were made by the Supreme Court in this regard. In 2002, it made it obligatory for all candidates, those who are contesting election, to file an affidavit, before the returning officer, which will disclose about the criminal cases pending against them in any court. The famous order it introduced, wherein nota was introduced to make political parties think before giving tickets to the tainted politicians or the politicians with criminal backgrounds and criminal history. And in the landmark judgment of 2014, Supreme Court accepted the urgent need for cleansing politics of criminalization and also directed all subordinate courts to decide on cases involving legislators within a year. Of course, this has not been done yet, but it was a revolutionary step. According to the analysis of the Election Commission data, 187 MPs in the current Lok Sabha, that is the 16th Lok Sabha, face criminal charges, and amongst them 113 people face serious criminal charges, and the number has gone up from 162 charges in 2009 and 128 in 2004. So the trend shows that the criminalization of politics is continuing and is only increasing. And what are the reasons for this criminalization? You can obviously guess. Reasons like corruption, vote bank politics, lack of good governance practices, all these are some reasons for criminalization. So what is the way out? How can we prevent all of this from happening? See, the political parties have to take responsibility. They should themselves refuse to give tickets to those candidates who have a criminal background or criminal history. And the Representation of People's Act should be amended to debar people against whom cases of a heinous nature are pending from contesting elections. And of course, like the Supreme Court said, fast track courts should be set up and should decide the cases of tainted legislators quickly, like 1 year, which the Supreme Court mentioned. Now let's look at some other suggested methods. Bringing greater transparency in campaign financing. See, in this regard, the government has brought about the electoral bond scheme, but even in that there is need for more regulation and more transparency. The Election Commission of India should have the power to audit the financial accounts of political parties, which it doesn't have currently, and the broader governance will have to improve for voters to reduce the reliance on criminal politicians. For example, the nota option. Right now, there's no point in casting the nota vote, because even if you cast your nota vote and nota gets the highest, whoever gets next highest is going to win the election, is going to represent the people of that area. So right now, nota is only to say that the people of that area don't approve of the candidates, but nothing much is done about it. So there has to be some kind of improvement in the nota system as well, and the Election Commission must take adequate measures to break the nexus between criminals and the politicians. See, this is the most important thing. The nexus between politicians and criminals has to be broken somehow. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. Here we have mentioned a few model questions. Please answer them. Hope you like this video. See you in the next video. Thank you.